Okay, well, let's get started. So thank you all for coming to this week's Shelter in Studio. My name is Sarah Songer, and today we'll be visiting with three people from PromptPress based in Iowa City, Iowa. So PromptPress is an online and in-print book arts journal for writing inspired by visual art and visual art inspired by writing. Twice a year, they showcase new work from a visual artist or writer on their website and invite writers and visual artists to use this work as a prompt, springboard, or source of inspiration. Jennifer Colville is a writer, teacher, and collaborative arts advocate, as well as the founding and fiction editor of PromptPress. She teaches writing workshops on image and word and the inventive female voice. Her book, Elegies for Uncanny Girls, was published in 2018. Alexandra Janezic is a book artist and letterpress printer living in Iowa City, Iowa. She received her MFA in book arts from the University of Iowa Center for the Book. Our latest book work can be found in many public institutions, including the Letterform Archive, Yale University, and the Library of Congress. And Elizabeth Munger is a mixed media artist with a penchant towards printmaking, textiles, books, and papermaking. She received her BFA in printmaking and her MFA in book arts at the University of Iowa. Her artist books can be found in special collections around the US. So thank you so much for joining us. And Jenny, you're on.
Hi, everybody. Really excited to be here to talk about prompt and promote the artists that we work with. Yeah, so I'm Jenny Colville. We're stationed here in Iowa City in the middle of the plague. I like to remember my time in San Francisco. Actually, when I was in San Francisco when I kind of had the idea for prompt. So I'm primarily a writer, but I have a little bit of a background in visual art. And I always start with an image when I write. Usually an image just as a way to kind of anchor an experience. I need that I'm trying to write about, I need a physical image to get me going, to set the tone, the mood, even kind of the rhythm. Or I use images throughout a piece as a structuring device. Yeah, so there's that. And then there's also that I was trained as an academic. For a long time, I thought I was going to be an academic, but I kind of got a little bit disillusioned with all this, with the siloing. Creative writing here, visual arts over here, book arts over here. And when I finally decided to leave academia, I said, I'm just gonna, really go for this prompt thing and try to create a collaborative community where all these different kinds of artists are in conversation with each other. So how do we do that? How do you build that community? So basically, Prompt, we're a publisher. And as Sarah said, we publish and produce collaborative projects between visual artists, writers, and book artists. Prompt currently has 3 components. We have our prompt journal, that's an ekphrastic journal, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We also have a smaller gallery series, and these are also beautifully hand-bound books, and they're for artists in the Iowa City area where I live that want to kind of work on a longer term sort of more back and forth project, and that includes like an exhibit. They get to have an exhibit and a reading, so we get them all in the same room together. It's exciting. And then we also have Teen Prompt, which replicates Prompt, the ekphrastic journal, but it's for teens. So how does PromptPress work? First, we find a prompt, and the prompt can either be from a visual artist or a writer. I'm going to take examples from visual artist prompts today. So when we're looking for a visual artist, we look for an artist that evokes a strong response, or an artist or a body of work that seems to have a lot of openings, where a lot of different points of departure, where people would feel free to kind of come in and expand out. So for example, this is issue number 3, and this was designed by Elizabeth Munger, who's here with us today. She's our art editor. But the prompt was James Goldthorpe, and he is a Bay Area artist. So I thought this one would be a good one to bring. It's in actuality, I think, a wall-sized collage. It's got this, it's called The Great American Novel. It's got this Midwestern Gothic-y kind of feel to it. You know, there's guns and livestock and dripping paint. The collage aspect of it, I thought, invited writerly responses, because it was kind of, you know, you could kind of, it was like a storyboard, maybe a crime scene storyboard, and you could like sort of piece together your own narrative. We got a lot of wonderful responses from this. This is also, I also want to say that Liz took out details from the whole collage in a really neat way. So we have the writing on this side. So the final step is to hand this over to a book artist, and we try to encourage the book artist. We say, this is your final response. Treat it as if this is, you know, what is your piece of art that you're going to add into the conversation. But, you know, I think that the book artists have the hardest job, because, you know, we want it to be their aesthetic and their point of view, but they're also, you know, making sure that they present the writing in the way it needs to be presented too. So I really admire that, the work that goes into this. This one, for example, I think that one of the things that Liz did that was so neat is the bifold structure, which references the collage a little bit. So there are these different points of entry into the book. You could start with images, you could start with word, you can mix and match, read one little piece, attach it to an image, pick it up the next day, go a different route through the book. So it really encourages a kind of, you know, choose your own adventure style, which is super exciting. So the one that we're going to talk about today is designed by Alexandra Janezic, who's here with us. And this rotates around the art of Lauren Frances Evans. Lauren Frances Evans does, I describe it as this kind of biomorphic sculpture and collage. It's very, to me, I liked it because it had a really uncanny feel to it. You recognize what's going on here as like, ooh, parts of the body, but what part? And it's, you know, sort of your body in dream image, or blown up, or seen through a microscope. Just really kind of eerie, but also beautiful. And so I think I will turn it over to Alexandra for her to talk about what, you know, how she responded to the prompt.
Great, am I on? Okay. So my name is Lexi Janezic for short, and I'm a book artist and letterpress printer. And Jenny and Kalmia approached me to design this edition of Prompt. So initially they already had all the content together, and they had chosen Lauren Frances Evans. So it's my job to ensure that I can make a cohesive and exciting thing for people to take home. So the first step is just reading all of the content. My process is I usually I read all the poetry in it, and then I also take a look at Lauren, the artist's work, and try to see like what is the narrative thread that can be evoked with the materials to make this book. So Lauren's work, as Jenny was showing, has like a lot of like circular forms and like sort of tangled imagery, like and it's also very like fleshy and like bodily. and textured. So I was looking at these images and trying to figure out, like how might I be able to convey that with the actual format of the object. So I decided to choose papers that sort of have like this fleshy and like textured feeling, because a lot of Lauren's work has that. And then for the title page, I chose a paper that sort of has the same feeling as like this image, which I believe she used insulation, fiberglass insulation. So I was sort of like, I liked that texture and I wanted to replicate it when I was making the book. So you can see it's sort of like a translucent Taikozo. And I kind of like that you can sort of see the title, but you can't really, and you have to like open it to see like what's going on. Other aspects of this book that I felt could be conveyed with like choices in type. You can see this typeface is called Giddy Up, and it's sort of circular and loopy. And I don't know, I would never use this in my own work, but I thought it was like this is a really great time to let that it would apply to like the work being conveyed within the book. So my job is essentially to like ensure that I make a cohesive thing, and that it looks beautiful and that people like will want to engage with it in a way that's in addition to the content. So yeah.
Lexi, will you talk maybe like about what you found most challenging with this process? Like, because this is different than your own work.
Yeah.
You're collaborating with a visual artist and writers, and are, I expected, I suppose, to put it into a cohesive form. Did you find it different than doing your own work?
In some ways, no, and then in some ways, yes. I do find like for a thing like this, so there's an editor, so I have to ensure that, there's also writers, so I also want to respect their work, like that, like each piece in this is a work of art in its own way, and making sure that I'm, said like poetry, I think is like a very visual. Well, it's a very visual form of language, and I want to make sure that it looks just as beautiful as the words that the writer has chosen. So I think there's a lot of like trying to make sure that it looks really nice, and that that the other artists like feel that their work is being respected. And then and like with my own work, I kind of also, I don't have a budget. So with this, I had to be sure that like I was staying within budget, and but also making something that's affordable. Like I don't want to make something that is like too expensive and that, can't be easily bought. Part of Prompt's mission is, it seems, to make it a more democratic type of literature. So I wanted to make sure that I stayed within budget. I also saw this as an opportunity to like look at off people's work that I would never have maybe encountered in my own like artistic circles. So it's really exciting to see and engage with the pieces that Jenny and Calvia and Liz like found to be worthy of making a book for. So yeah.
And so this book is out and it's available on Prompt's website. But what's next for you? Like, do you have something coming up? Do you have anything you're excited about, or you're working on, or you're looking forward to?
Yeah, there's a book. I had a residency at the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve about 5 years ago. And we also live in the prairie, so, but it's also an interesting relationship because there really isn't any prairie left. So I'm currently working on a book about the prairie that is more like a fine press book that is letterpress printed. Like all the contents of it are letterpress printed. And then the covers are like made out of wood, like oak, they're oak boards. And so it's like a more, well, it's more expensive object, maybe more labor intensive. So yeah, and it's more about like the history of like, you know, this used to be a completely, or like a space that was maintained by Indigenous peoples, and then how it has transitioned into something that's become basically owned by capitalism. So I kind of want to like engage with that concept, but yeah, that's like one of my projects I'm working on. So
that's what I'm really excited to talk and hear more about that. And I imagine we have time at the end, or we'll put up where we can find more of Lexi's work. But I wanted to ask Jenny actually the same question. What's next for Prompt? What do we got going on?
Yeah. So we have, let's see, I'm on screen. Yeah, okay. So the next book that we're making, we're going to make actually a girdle book. That's Kalmia Strong, our book art editor, has come up with this idea, and we're super excited. So the body of work that will be contained in the girdle book, the prompt was a story, kind of a surreal story about women's dress, and the ways that it restricts, and the ways and also the ways that it kind of enables certain opportunities. And it's just it's a very weird, I wish I had a snippet of it, but it's about women hiding frogs in their dresses, and but also fainting because they have dresses, like all the wonderful and awful things that dresses can do. So we were seeing this girdle book as really a kind of radical. We don't know that they were traditionally, like a radical thing for women to carry around books with them. I think it was like a very upper class thing. But for us, it's, this idea of carrying around your own kind of like private book hidden under your skirts seems very radical. And so we're super excited about that.
Sounds good. I don't know, are we winding down, or do we have more time for more questions?
We do have more time. There was one question from the audience, which was about edition size. How many are in each edition?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that depends on, it kind of depends on the bookmaker, on what their vision of the book is. So we have, shoot, I don't have that one with me. We had one that's super elaborate. We'll maybe do 50, but one that is more basic in structure, we'll do 75.
And who purchases the books that you produce?
Yeah, well, so library special collections. We just got into Brown's special collection. That was super exciting. We've been collected at the SF MoMA, super exciting. But we're really looking to grow our collectors list. Yeah.
But also everyday people too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I think we try to be really thoughtful about having them be accessible for people that are, maybe not or maybe first-time collectors, or not big-time collectors, but are just in love with the book, or in love with writing or art, and just have an interest in owning or just living with some pieces like that. They're really I think kind of a special, they're special pieces, I think, in general, just because we get so intimate with books that it's really fun. So I think it's actually really lovely that Prompt I think thinks about that and wants to make sure that it can get out into the world, and people can check it out and be part of it. anyways, this kind of leads me into this next thing, which I think is sort of interesting in the same way, this idea of a prompt. And I was going to kind of push it back to Lexi a little bit, this idea of, we're posting a visual or a written prompt, and then it's being responded with the opposite. And then once that's done, one of the things that I think is really cool is that we do hire a book artist to do that. And I was, as somebody that has participated in this, for me, I find that material or that context is a prompt for me as a book artist, and leads me into material choices and typographic choices, color choices, things like that. Lexi, did you feel like you were a continuation of that process? I mean, if not, that's fine too. I just, is it just, there's no right or wrong. I just was curious if you felt like you were part of that experience.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like I'm the last step in sort of like creating like a cohesive work of art. So, yeah, but I also like that I didn't have to make all the executive decisions at the same time. Like, it was sort of like a collage that was already put together for me, and I just had to like put the final touches on it. But I also like that I got to choose the structure and things like that. So it's a Japanese stab binding. So I mean, yeah, I liked that I got to experiment with maybe some things that I wouldn't have gotten to do if I hadn't done this project. So like, there's some tying. I also learned that maybe I should have used Japanese paper instead of Western paper, just because, you should use the material that, that you are familiar with for that structure. But yeah, I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, you did. And I mean, I had the advantage of, chatting with you gals yesterday, but so I know, I got like the forethought here. But I actually, can we get back to the stab binding? And like, this is something I just found out, and I just love it in conjunction with Lauren's work, and like that middle, how it in and of itself, it sort of mimics that tunnel shape, and you can show people that there. I mean, I already have that context, so I know what I'm talking about. But it was really interesting. It's just so fun to see how book artists make decisions and put things together. And I just think this is like really lovely and clever. How you did that stab binding, and like how it like mimics those shapes.
Yeah, totally. So from what you could see from Jenny and I putting this close up, there's a portal as the cover. But also inherent to a Japanese structure is that the pages are folded in on themselves. So they make their own type of portal, which actually I hadn't even thought of until Kalmia had brought it up, but I was like, wow, that's super meta. Yeah, and just sort of like the end sheets I chose are portals. I don't know. Yeah, I just like that I could sort of take a concept and like completely just go wild with it. Maybe in a way that I wouldn't do with my own work, because you're already so close to it and have, so many decisions to make that you can't just keep going. But, yeah.
And then just speaking of, speaking of process, I know we're gonna maybe go on a studio tour, and I don't know if that needs to happen right now, but it might be nice to talk about what you print on, and like just talk us a little bit maybe through the for those of us that are into materials or into process, maybe a little bit about the physical, like your physical work, or how you were making that edition.
Yeah, are we okay on time, Sarah?
We're getting close on time, and there are quite a few questions actually. If you don't mind, can we?
let's dive in. Yeah.
Let's go with the questions. Great. We have a comment and a question from Raya. I love how PromptPress is designed for collaboration among artists and between works, and wonders what you guys are doing, Prompt is doing to involve the community during this time. Since formerly there was the reading room, which sounds like it's missed.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. We did for a little while run a petite prompt series on Instagram, where the editors would put up a piece of their own work. So that was fun. We got to showcase a little bit of our own work, and then it was an open call for responses, and then we published those on Instagram as well. That sort of lost steam, but I'm thinking we might revamp that, as we're going to be inside for a while. So yeah.
Nice. A process question about if the book artist binds and constructs the entire edition themselves.
Yes. I definitely do. Yes.
Great. And a question from Linda about wanting to know more about how the process works for submissions and prompts. Oh. And I guess that ties into a question that came up with us earlier, which was how you find and solicit artists.
Yeah. So with the writing, we have a poetry editor, and I'm the fiction editor. We have a nonfiction editor as well. So between the three of us, we have connections and people to solicit, but we also put out open calls and make sure that at least 50% of what we're selecting has come from an open call. Yeah, and to submit, go to our website. It says at the top, it says respond, and you can find out how to respond if you're a visual artist, a book artist, or a writer. And right now we're kind of in between prompts. We are a little bit behind on book production, so it will be a while before we're accepting responses. But you could follow us on Instagram and jump into the petite prompt. It's kind of a fun thing, and your responses don't have to be super polished. They can be kind of provisional, just whatever you have in your head.
Nice. There's definitely one vote in the chat, at least, for revamping that petite prompt.
Yeah.
So, get it going again, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so that seems like it's it for the questions for now. So Lexi, if you want to give us a quick tour, we got, a minute or two here at the end.
Okay.
What's around?
Awesome. Okay, it's gonna be a really quick one. So I have a desktop. So over here, I have a board shear and a light and a sewing frame I just got finally after using vices for quite some time. And then that's my guillotine cutter, and that came from a UICB former instructor named Penny McKean, who's fabulous and lives in Washington now. And then this is my Vandercook 3, and it's button operated. So you press this button, well, you turn it on, and it will move the carriage by itself. So you don't have to have your arms totally go out like what happened to me when I got my MFA. So they have really big presses at the center for the book, and that you really get a workout on your right arm. And then, yeah, and this is where I do my inking and flame little cabinet. So yeah, so yeah, it's like a 20 by 20 foot space that's behind my house, but does the job. So
very clean.
Yeah, right now it is. Just for you guys. I don't want to do too much of my dirty laundry. So yeah, but thank you for having us. Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks.
This was really fun to learn more about this, and I think that we're hoping to sort of use this as a jumping off point and maybe have more tours with other book artists that have worked with prompts, you know, sort of spread out beyond the Bay Area a little bit in the future. So this was a really wonderful way to start that off. So thank you guys so much. Next week is Thanksgiving, so we won't have a shelter in studio, but the week after that, December 3rd, will be Kitty Marriott and Two Hands Press. So that will be up on the website soon. The recording of this will be up on the website soon, and we hope to see you again. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks.
Thanks.